I knew this. I knew I could get the work if I could get the guys. Like, I didn't get the work. I didn't necessarily agree with the fact that I needed the work before I could get the guys. I kind of knew they went hand in hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fine Home Building Podcast, our weekly discussion of building, remodeling, and design topics aimed at anyone who cares deeply about the craft and science of working on houses. I'm Justin Fink. I'm joined today by Rob and Brian. Say hello, guys.
Hey, Justin.
If anybody's new to this show, welcome. You can go to finehomebuilding.com/podcast to check out our show notes page that Mike puts together that will have links to all the things we talk about. And you can also watch a video recording of the podcast, which is going to be relevant today because we have a special guest joining us via Skype, Anthony Vitale of ProBuilt Woodworking. Anthony, say hello.
Hey, fellas.
So let's just start right off the bat with who you are, what you do, and we'll take it from there.
Who I am and what I do. I'm just a carpenter. No. So I am. I really am just a carpenter. But I'm the owner of ProBuilt Woodworking. We're a high-end finished carpentry company located here in Southeast Michigan. We basically serve those who respect and want fine craftsmanship through the way of finished carpentry. So anything from the finished carpentry package, base, casing, crown, so on and so forth, through custom stairs, built-ins, furniture, the whole gamut of basically interior woodwork.
Okay. And can you give us a little bit about kind of how you got started with that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty vital to why I'm sitting here today, I guess. I grew up in a family, my family, custom stair and millwork company. So I mean, from the earliest memories of me being a child, sawdust that's kind of what I've known.
So you did this for a while before you even got started on your own.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, so as a little bit of a background for the audience, the reason we met Anthony for the first time, Rob and I met him in we were in Orlando, right?
Yeah, International Builders Show. And Anthony came up to our booth, Fine Home Building booth, and we were just chatting, and Rob and I, after we finished, I don't know, a half-hour conversation, just kind of talking about everything from running a shop to doing trim carpentry to the magazine and what we're doing, and then to kind of this apprenticeship, keep craft alive thing. Anthony was so enthusiastic and so energetic that it was like, felt like we were buzzing at the end of it. Like, I just want to go do something. He was pretty jacked up.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. It was great.
To your guys' point, I'm probably overly passionate about this industry, and I think that whole weekend, right? I couldn't help but to feel jacked up of just what, not only what was happening, but just what's happening, just
right
with the industry.
So, having grown up in a family carpentry business, I'm curious a little bit about how you were trained. Were you trained in sort of systematically in a formal approach, or were you just sort of immersed in it so young and so early that you just kind of learned through osmosis, so to speak?
Yeah. So let me just back that up in saying that the family companies actually they strictly manufacture custom staircases. Mm-hmm. Installation of custom staircases, and back when I was in it, it was far more production based, and then manufacture custom trim. So there was really no installation from the finished carpentry side of things. And then I'll give you a kind of another drop of the setting, I guess. I'm one of four boys, all in the family business. yeah, there was no formal training. Like it was not, we're gonna have. I didn't apprentice under my father, who, we son, come do that.
Yeah.
It was go, and continuously being challenged. I think not even by outside influence as much as just who I am maybe as a person. So yeah, definitely I would say my upbringing was not a formal training per se.
Did your other brothers also go into building? I'm just curious.
Oh yeah, we're all crazy, and we all had the choice, right? But
we're all crazy.
Really, unfortunately, we were a little late in the game on like the reality TV thing. Because I'm telling you, we could have hit it big with that.
The Vitale brothers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then between the old man there and I don't want to drop any names, right? But any of these shows, like it's nothing compared to what you could experience with us.
Yeah.
So it was kind of normal for you to be, it wasn't like your family was a bunch of bankers and financiers and lawyers, and then you said, "Hey, Dad, Mom, I want to be a carpenter."
No, yeah, no. Basically what it was is there was a Sicilian, my father, who came over here at like 13, worked his butt off and built this, successful multi-million-dollar specialty business with zero business experience, I guess.
Right.
I mean, just a product of just working really hard and boom, 15,000 square foot shop, doing work for every builder in the area.
So part of what we're going to end up talking about here is a little bit on training, but just to get an idea of kind of how you approached going out on your own. How many years have you been in business now?
Yeah. So 7 years. 7 years. Yeah. So, and I guess probably one thing I'm just kind of citing over is, from several summers, right? It's the old typical family business thing. Spent all the summers growing up in the shop and coming in, working and blah, blah, blah. I think the interesting part of that story comes, I'm 18 years old now and put out on these production stair jobs and somewhat under the wing of some experienced guys. But again, it's like I'm the owner's son, right? And I'm not going to tell the owner's son what to do. I'm not going to make the owner's son rip something out when he does it wrong. And I took a very different approach to that. Like I could physically see the way these builders would treat me being the young guy on site to figuring out, well, you're Tom's son. And like, that wasn't okay with me. Like I didn't want respect because who I was. Like I wanted respect for being a craftsman, being the young guy in the field who cares and can handle his own. And fast forward a little beyond that. I mean, by 21 years old, 20 years old, I was doing work and subbing stuff for guys that have been doing it 35 years. So, but coming into the stair trade per se, I never realized that I was like the unicorn on site, that like young guys weren't getting into it and that stairs were like considered the pinnacle. That's just what we did.
Yeah.
So the sad part is I could do a full tread staircase before I could cut a piece of crown, before I could hang a door.
Right.
I mean, so I just don't want to like, I guess overlook that, the reality of that.
Well, so like, what about the community around you? I know this is different in different parts of the country.
like classmates in school? Like what is it really heavily kind of blue collar jobs getting out of school, or is it like all over the map?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say all over the map. One thing is, and again, like it's still puzzling when I hear some of these conversations happen. Like I never felt like I was taking a low class.
Yeah, like a lesser than. Yeah.
Yeah, like I looked at my industry and my trade as like a very viable way to make a good living, and you should be a professional. Like that. So like to me, it's hard for me to even relate to that because it's so different than what I was brought up in. And again, maybe not like a formal thing, right? It wasn't like the hand on the shoulder thing, like, this is the way you got to go. I was given the option. I went to school. I went for my associates. I was doing that while I was working full time, and I would never. I'm soon to be a father of 4, and I will never push my kids away from college. But I'll tell you right now, at 22 years old, I built my first house. I contracted my first house. My home in the middle of a recession. I couldn't have done that if I went to school.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't have done that because you would not have made enough money to do that, or
100%.
Okay, so you've definitely found success.
Relative to what success is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, building in the middle of the recession, it just so happened it was the best financial move I've ever made. It could have been a really bad move, but again, I was 22. I'm like,
what do you have to lose?
Yeah. But with all that said, I was still kind of oblivious to life. I was planning on finishing the house, then getting engaged, and I didn't have. I was in a different spot then than I am now.
So you were installing stairs. You were learning that craft. You were very proficient at that craft. And what sparked the interest in doing other work? And how did you get there?
Yeah. So again, now we talk about recession. And as many know, it was pretty deep here in Detroit and the surrounding areas, as much of the country. But with the automotive, obviously being very automotive based in our area, things really slowed down. Again, I'm not saying anything new, but things really slowed down for our specific market, which was that production stair market.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing all the big builder stuff in our area. So we kind of had to reinvent. We started doing a little more remod work, which that's kind of where I started to fall in love with the interaction with people. Now you're no longer dealing with a builder who's going to pop in and pop out and, hey, you going to be done today? Hey, no, because the last one took us a week and this one will probably take us. But it was always the same question, right? You going to be done today?
Yeah.
So it's like a different mentality. Now you're cutting in somebody's foyer, but we were doing what we could to keep the train moving. And basically then from there we said, okay, the builder work has dried up. There's remod work. And there is some custom home, like high-end custom. I'm talking like 30,000 square foot, 28,000 square feet, 26,000 square feet.
Jeez.
That stuff was still going. And I personally believe that market never goes away.
A lot of people
right?
say that. Yeah.
Recession in the recession. I mean, they're that kind of money is, I don't want to say it's not affected, but there's a better bang for the buck, right?
Yeah.
So that really sparked my interest for what would set the tone for where I'm at today. Now I was starting to work. I was the stair guy while I'm working in these, homes with either the big crews or just the high end crews. And I started looking around, right? And I had one guy tell me, Anthony, you're probably going to be the last stair guy alive. And like, I didn't, at the time, at the time I'm like, yeah, I was used to kind of hearing that stuff. And then like as the last, the year started to pass, I'm like, wait, I think he was serious. Like I could be the last guy doing this, like in this area. Who else is here? Right. And, but that's where my interests really peaked. My brother is a phenomenal craftsman. I was spending a lot of time working on site with him. And, again, it's that family dynamic of just challenging. He's older than me, at the time, more experience. Notice I said at the time.
There's no competition there at all.
Yeah, obviously. No. But I mean, in all seriousness, he was hard on me, and he really set the tone for what craftsmanship should be, could be. And we'd get back to the shop, and Dad would yell at us, why is it taking so long? Why are you doing it like that? Why, can't just say like, hey, good job. Right.
Right.
But it was always that, I guess that really set the tone for what I would fall in love with in the trade, which is that high-end custom work.
Yeah.
So how did you establish yourself like in your market as the guy that was executing that work? How did you find clients that would appreciate that level of detail?
Yeah. So this is I think a real pivotal thing in what we're doing. So again, I worked for a family company. I didn't work for like 5 other trim crews. When I started the business, I had a high level respect for craftsmanship. I kind of knew what I really enjoyed doing. I knew I wasn't afraid to say no to anything. I didn't have all this experience in this huge business model that I was chasing after. That was not my intentions of leaving a multi-million-dollar company that I would, ultimately a share of that was like here, right? I stepped away from all that. Looking back, really, really stupid. Like I don't know what I was thinking. I think in the moment and where I'm at now, I have no regrets. But when people hear that story, they're like, "Wait, I don't get it," right? Yeah, I mean, so how I've established, I guess, long story short, I haven't modeled my business off of like I would bid a job that guys were charging 90 cents a foot, and I wasn't bidding it by the foot. Like I didn't even know guys did that.
Yeah.
Right. I was bidding, by piece, by part. Right.
Yeah.
So my bid's, $14,000. Their bid is like, $3,000, and I couldn't understand how these guys were making money. Come to find out, they're not.
Yeah.
Right.
Come to find out, there's no way anybody could make money without cutting somewhere, right? But for what I wanted to achieve, it wasn't out there. So I think really just building the tone, building what we've built from the ground up with no influence is how we're here today.
It's almost like sort of putting on blinders and not even, it sounds like what you're saying is putting on blinders, and like you don't look around and say, all right, there's 6 other major trim carpenters in my area.
Yeah.
This one charges this one charges that, so I've got to be here. You just kind of say, well, screw them. This is what I need to make.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm going to get it or I'm not going to get it.
Yeah. And I don't want to dummy it down or like set the wrong impression that it's just no, you still got to eat, you still got to, but I was never okay with just being another trim guy. Right. And I'm not saying that in the sense that I've got there and I'm something, again, some unicorn. Right. But I will say we're different. And if that's just straight from the passion, awesome. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So how many guys do you have working for you now?
So we're basically 8 guys right now. I say the same thing to everyone, right? We're 8 guys, should be at probably 15 guys, and where are we going to find them, right? I mean, that's
the question. So where have you?
Right?
Well, that's my next question, rather. Like, where have you found, these guys that could perform to your standards?
Yeah.
And how you're developing them, or training them, or mentoring them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I would say I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound like I'm taking all the credit, but I've built them. I've built them, and what does that mean? I'm the old guy in the field, and I'm 32, right?
You mean the old guy in the field on your crew?
On my crew.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, it sounds I'm simplifying it way beyond what I should be, but man, I knew one thing. I knew if I found the right people, I knew this. I knew I could get the work if I could get the guys. Like, I didn't get the work. I didn't necessarily agree with the fact that I needed the work before I could get the guys. I kind of knew they went hand in hand. But what I also realized is, like, I wasn't okay for settling with what I've seen going around my industry. And again, or my community, I guess. Again, that is not to, like, downgrade anybody or say that I'm above anyone. It's just I knew, like, executing the work to me is the easy part, right? Finding the guys with as much passion and desire to go and put themselves in a real uncomfortable zone and work for somebody who's fanatical about the details, but also willing to spend as much time as needed to train on, our schedule, on our systems, how we're going to implement something, their feedback. As much as I might joke around how challenging it is growing up in a family company, there's a lot of good that comes out of that, right? Like, I never was worried about the guy that the guy that's working next to me is, like, screwing around or going to take too long of a lunch, because that's my brother. Why? Like, what's in it for him? I never worried about trying to please the boss, because, hey, that's dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, please yourself. I never worried about the guy that, like, might say something to me if something took too long, because, that might be my uncle. Like, so I've approached this whole thing with a very family focused kind of mentality.
So you sort of created a family of employees. So
yeah, exactly.
So how do you like what is the talent pool? How do you find, like, I guess, like, what is the average age of the person you're hiring? What kind of experience do they bring when they, like, are they have they never seen a power tool, or are they like, I've been a carpenter for 5 years?
Yeah. So about 3 years ago, I started something with the local a local high school, which was my old high school. I started basically what would be an apprenticeship program, right?
Cool.
5 years ago, at the infancy of the company, I was really looking for guys who could help me, right? And in what I quickly realized of having an employee is, well, you got to keep them busy. Again, kind of a different mentality at this point, but back then it was like, okay, all you can do is vacuum a site, right? All you can do is bore these holes for these balusters. So let's look kind of beyond that, right? Like, what can you do? What can you do to excel at just vacuuming? Like, in I don't think, again, this wasn't like but looking back, I can say I think this is how it kind of built is, just kind of create that ownership, right? Let them understand the why behind everything we're doing, more than like, okay, you're going to do base because base is a low level thing. So you'll do, like, no, everything's important.
Yeah.
Right? If you can't master the simple stuff, you're not going to get the big stuff. But I would say when starting, say, this apprenticeship, it was out of the desire to say, okay, I'm not finding what I need in the 40-year guys. I could only hire so many more 40-year guys who showed up on day one, and they forgot to tell me that they used to have levels, but now they don't. They didn't know they were going to be hanging doors and it was like, what if I find like a young guy who's just really passionate about learning?
So you were finding that you were kind of having to, I'm guessing, because I know you have a kind of a systems approach. You're bringing in a bunch of guys with different styles and different backgrounds and different ways of doing things and throwing them all into a pot and hoping to get a trimmed house out of it with any sort of consistency.
Well, so I'll say it was more calculated than that in terms of, for the first couple years, it was just me, right? So I had total control of everything we were doing. Beyond that, I landed a fantastic guy who was, I couldn't believe the way our paths crossed. I couldn't believe that he almost had it, not almost. I mean, he had as much passion for me as the trade. And I think from there, it kind of gave me some hope, like, okay, maybe this can happen again. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was never the kind of guy that was going to like hire a bunch of guys and stick them in a house and hope. I was going to be the guy that was going to work 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, little tongue in cheek there, but maybe 15, and figure out a way to get it done. And like, on our first big project, I got a phone call. I was still working out of the garage. I got a phone call from a referral, and said, hey, a buddy of mine's building a 10,000 square foot house. Are you interested in bidding it? And I'm like, yeah, I'm interested. Yep. Thinking like, I have no employees, but I'm interested. He asked me if I was interested. I mean,
you're not lying.
I'm going to answer this question, right? And that was pretty much the start of it.
You hang up the phone and then go, how the hell am I going to do this? Yeah.
You know what? Again though, Justin, it was one of those things, like, I didn't think twice. And I think I'm still that kind of person. I haven't thought twice. I'm going to have 4 kids and I'm not thinking twice. Like, what big deal. Trimming a house, 4 kids. And I don't think twice. No, I mean, but again, it's calculated. So as much as I'm simplifying it all, it was never just like throw a bunch of guys and hope for the best. It's been very slow growth. Though I'm very proud of where we've come from. That's why we're at 8 guys. We're like, I'm good with it. Mm-hmm. I plan on being at 12 by the end of this year, but like, I know there's a lot of other stuff that the bodies don't mean anything to me. It's the quality of people, I guess,
So paint us a little picture of the recruitment process. You mentioned apprentices coming from the high school you went to. So, I mean, are we talking about, are they coming on board just for the summer to work with you to kind of, or are you snagging them at graduation?
Yeah. So basically through the apprenticeship, with the local high school, basically that's what it is. You're awarded a summer with us.
Okay.
Right. Now right around the same time, I kind of launched this concept. Shortly thereafter, I also hired Sean Van Dyke, and who is a mentor of mine. For those that don't know,
we've had him on the show before. So he's a business consultant.
Business consultant out of Knoxville, specializing in skilled trades, right?
Yep.
He kind of helped me kind of work through that process of like I had asked him, and I think this is this answers a question that I get all the time, right? Like, wait, you buy your apprentices tools? Like, you give them money to go buy tools. And I'm going to say exactly what I asked Sean at first. He's like, well, one, you're doing it anyways, whether you know it or not. But like, offer it as incentive. Right. It's incentive. Now, that doesn't mean you hire in, we provide you with everything, and you're just like as the apprentice coming in, you have the company at your fingertips. You've got all these guys with experience. You can ask anybody anything. You don't need to ask the owner, right? The world is your oyster. Like, you care, you want the opportunity, show me, right? And you'll be given it. And a question I get all the time is like, well, what happens if these guys leave? And going back to what Sean, and it's been a very, very pivotal thing in a lot of respects to business for me. But he said, but what happens if they stay? And that really hit home with me, right? So creating a place, first off, you got to hire the right guys. At the apprentice level, you have to hire for passion. If you think you're hiring for skill, in my opinion, you're now, don't get me wrong, coming out of 3 years, 4 years of shop class at the high school, that's kind of a nice point to grab these young guys. But at the end of the day, they gotta want it.
So can we pull that apart a little bit, and we'll just we'll go step by step through this. So you're coordinated with the high school.
Yep.
And then what happens? Do you get a bunch? The high school calls you and says, "Hey, we got 12 people we want you to meet and comb through."
So what I do, I've built a pretty good relationship with the shop teacher, who is ironically my shop teacher.
Yeah.
And it's really not that ironic, but and basically it's like, look, I could care less about the skill set. Like, I really don't care about. Give me your best student.
Yeah.
Who ironically has been in your class for the last 4 or 5 years. The same way I haven't approached, my career as being the young guy who's taken the easy path. I'll tell you right now, I got a 19-year-old kid. I can't even call him a kid. He's got it. He has it better together than myself. I mean, he's the kind of guy that, with me or without me, will do it, right? Mm-hmm. He will be successful at whatever he does.
Right.
But he is the quintessential employee in terms of the fact, he shows up every single day. He understands how I understand that's not most 19-year-olds.
Right.
Right. But I also feel like he didn't come in with anything different than any of these other guys. He just capitalized on the opportunity.
So what kind of questions are you asking to vet a guy like that? Because I mean,
so at the apprentice level, I kind of don't care as much about any of the technical stuff as much as I want to know a little about their background. Why do you want to get in the skilled trades, right?
Yeah.
If I can usually read through if it's the guy who thinks he wants. The thing I love is when guys say, well, because someday I want to own my a skilled trades business. Like, I respect that.
Right.
But the first question I want to be is like, or ask him is like, why?
Do you love the work, or do you love running a business?
Yeah. Exactly. Like in that, if there's, I'm obviously heavily engaged in the Instagram community and a few of these other platforms where I love this whole entrepreneurship and this whole mentality behind freedom and owning a business. But honestly, like, let's figure out how to teach these young guys a way to be a good employee first.
Right. There's a lot of talk on the Instagram community about, look how successful we are. We're doing these great projects. We're crushing it. We're killing it. We're lining up these badass projects and knocking them out of the park. But it's like, and then they talk about, this is so important. You got to keep craft alive, and the trades are important. But it's like, sometimes I flip through it and I want to be like, well, what are you doing to help?
Yeah.
And I know that's very surface level. It's judgy because I don't know that they're not doing something to help, but why isn't that more apparent? And so that's why we love to talk to you about it, because it seemed like you developed kind of an internal system. It's like you looked at the outside world and you said the apprenticeship program in the United States is gone.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I'm going to make my own.
Absolutely. So I think just the term apprenticeship, I think at the very base level, that very kind of word itself has a stature about it versus a laborer, helper.
Sure.
When guys, people in the industry say, hey, one of your laborers, like, I'm like, whoa. Like, no, he's not a laborer like that. He will do some of the laborious parts, but hey, guess what? So will I. Like, look, my calluses, like, that's not from just pointing fingers all day either,
Yeah.
I again, it's corny. Like, I am not above the lowest guy, the guy, to me, it's respect, right? Treating these young guys with respect. I'll tell you right now, the young guys in the crew, these are the guys who come every single day, show up on time, fill out their time card, which it's, I can go on and on, but these are the guys packing lunch every day. These aren't the guys, they're fresh out of high school. They understand, and a lot of people will bad talk the millennials. They'll bad talk the young guys. They don't want to work. They don't. And here's my question. I'll probably catch a little flack by saying this, but as an industry as a whole, what have we done? What have we done to make these guys want to come into the industry? What have we done to show them?
Yeah, we're in this. We're in this spot for a reason.
Yeah,
one of
the interesting questions is: is there really a shortage of skilled laborers, or is a shortage of good bosses?
Yeah,
who are actually willing to train someone.
Right, that you just
and
nailed
value them.
it.
Yeah.
And this is where like you may want to put a warning at this point.
Oh, no, bring it on.
This is where I start to get passionate. So
go for it.
We're going to delete everything up till now and just start the interview here.
Yeah.
We're just warming you up.
Right.
Jeff, turn the microphones on now.
Yeah. Let's take this, if you guys don't mind. Let's step into that, right? Like, as an industry, what have we done? Like, I didn't feel like I was coming in at a low-class job because I came into a family business that I saw the successes, but I've also saw like the extreme hardships and the, my old man is still at the shop every single weekend, kind of has built that life around work. And so maybe that's why I didn't feel that way. But let's be honest, like, if I came into the industry working for the guy who's drove the same van for the last 35 years, could care less about what, what he's doing, what he's producing.
Why would you want him on your crew? Yeah.
And he was looking to hire you as a laborer and not someone who was going to learn something.
100%.
Yeah. And the qualifications were like, would you take this low wage and would you show up tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
Well, and that's my point, right? Like you have no job description. You don't know how to get to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Like this really. I joke with Sean. A lot of the times I'm talking with him, it's more to vent about the people stuff than it is for like, hey, how do I kind of pumpkin plan my business? Like, I am very people driven, people based, relationship based. Like I don't understand wasting anybody's future, keeping them in a dead end job. But I know that's not normal in our industry. So that's my challenge. I love the Keep Craft Alive campaign. I mean, I've been a supporter of it since day one. But I'll tell you right now, like, how do you keep craft alive when the industry is falling to the wayside of guys who, and again, I am optimistic. I do see this surgence, but what I don't want to see happen is the 18-year-old kid who sees the young guy who did it through a bunch of hard work and think, well, yeah, it's just that easy, right? I'll just do what Anthony did, because, and I'm not saying they can't. I'm just telling you right now, like, I don't think most people are cut out to be success. I got to be careful how I word this, but I don't know that most people are cut out to be successful in the skilled trades business by the nature of the business, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to run a business with structure and compete with guys who literally are okay barely getting by.
Well, and there's a kind of a dual path there, right? If someone that 18-year-old kid that you mentioned who wants to be the business owner, and if he thinks a skilled trade business is something that he's interested in, I mean, there's no reason why he can't go to college for business and then swing a hammer part-time for 4 years, and he can learn both things, and he's going to be better. He's going to be in a better position to become the next, business owner than the guy who was just swinging a hammer. He's actually going to be like the double threat, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yep. And I think that's part of maybe too society where we've kind of built this mentality that you really can't or shouldn't do both, right? You shouldn't go to college and then waste all that experience, becoming a skilled tradesman. But I mean, I just really want to give these guys a path to success. And what I hope is it's with us. If it's not, I'll tell you right now, I built, in my opinion, one hell of a carpenter. So
what take me through before we bore into like very specific roles, what is the structure of your employees? It's apprentices, and then what do they move to from there? And then so we've modeled, and again, a lot of this stuff was kind of in the works, and working with Sean really helped me kind of dissect this a little further and really bring some nice structure to it. So what we got, we basically have our apprentice carpenters, our support carpenters, and lead carpenters. That's it.
That's it. Now in the support level, there's support level 1, 2, and 3. Fact is, let's kind of really simplify it. Apprentices, your job is to learn. Your job is to learn and ask questions and watch YouTube. I mean, I'm 32. I'm not super old, but like, I didn't learn from YouTube like that. Yeah. That was before my time, which is wild. I thought I was like being super innovative by starting a blog and being a finished carpenter back in 2011. Yeah. And then it's like, where are we now? But so the apprentice's job is to learn and have that insane passion for really wanting to get through that apprenticeship. And I would say that's about a 2-year role, in theory.
Okay. And you have you've clearly defined what is the next step from there. Like, hey, you're going to do this for 2 years until you show me this.
Yeah. So we have, I'm big on the quarterly review, right? I'm big on, we basically have documents, everything within the company. I'm a fanatic about developing a process, developing a system. So that is all outlined, right? Mm-hmm. You can check box these 5 things, and that puts you kind of eligible. The proof's in the pudding, right?
Yep.
But if you can do these 5 things, and that's not particularly like task oriented. It's a little bit more like you invest in your toolkit.
Okay, so what's the second level after apprentice?
So basically, that next level is going to be our support carpenter. Our support carpenter, they handle the majority of the work, right? So from base trim package as a support level 1, you should really be able to handle the entire base trim package. So doors, crown, base, casing, backband, extensions, jams, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Level 2, you're starting to get into more radius work, panel details, kind of basic ceiling details.
Okay.
As we get into support level 3, now we start entering a little bit more of the high level details, but little higher level of communication between the lead carpenter. That's the lead carpenter's right-hand man.
Gotcha.
Right. And I should note too, the level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1, you're going to be expected to handle a bunch of stuff on your own. Level 2, you're going to be expected to not just handle a bunch of stuff on your own, but start to train guys underneath you.
Right.
At that level 1, level 2 kind of
awesome.
role. Yeah, and level 3 is going to be that higher level communication, higher skill set. Really, it's a way for us to break up the pay range, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is not keeping anybody stagnant. Like, I would expect if anybody stays stagnant, they're either walking out on us or we're moving past them.
Right.
I think that's smart. I think that's smart to have that kind of like, because you're staying aware that like this is a system designed to keep people moving and that they should be moving, and something's wrong if they're not.
100%. And but with that said, right? Like, we do not hire in lead carpenters.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's not to say if the right guy comes along, but I'm not going to hire in a guy because everybody when they're looking for work is a lead carpenter, right? They've done it all and until they got to be a lead. So our lead is actually relative to leadership,
right?
And communication. Everybody at all levels. So, and the other thing I want to touch on with that too is everybody is not destined to be a lead carpenter.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay if someone wants to stay at a level 3 or a level 2, I'm okay with that. I don't see them being okay with that.
Right.
Another saying I've implemented with working with Sean is we'll basically give you the path, you'll present the opportunity, and that is something I wholeheartedly live by on our day-to-day. I mean, if a support level 1 guy wants the opportunity to hop on a coffered ceiling, that's on him. I will, hey, you want it? These are, but more than likely they will not hit our allotted man hours, which is kind of a metric there. They're not going to be able to schedule. They're not going to have the right tooling. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of prevents people from getting out of their comfort zone.
So what's the bump when you move up to another level? I mean, is it just a pay raise, or are there different perks and benefits, or what happens?
So
I'm digging this. I'm kind of digging this incentive system. It's cool.
Yeah. So nobody within the company as of 2 or 3 years ago gets a raise without more responsibility.
Yep.
And someone wants a $10 an hour raise, I'll give it to them, no problem. Just
give me $10 more an hour.
yeah, $10. Well, $10 more, but you're actually when we start to crank out the numbers, right? You're actually worth like you got to do another $60,000-$70,000 worth of work that year.
Yeah.
You have all these other and that's not to scare anyone. That's just I want to hold people accountable, and I want them to hold me accountable. I think that's huge within our culture.
Right. It's easy for an employee to look at this and they're like, what's the big deal? You're making a ton of money. Give me an extra $5.
Right.
And to actually sit down and go, here's what that $5 looks like when you map it out.
Yeah. Yep.
If I give it to you now without making more money, then I'm making less.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And, this is all, unfortunately, we are competing at a level where if I don't get a bid right, I mean, our jobs are the kind of jobs that could put people out of business.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay, so you get the pay raise when you move up. Are there other things involved too? I mean, do you give paid time off? Is it
so from paid time off? We're also doing a quarterly profit sharing.
Cool.
Incentive. We get paid holidays. All the guys get 7 paid holidays. I try. The idea of what we're trying to do with any of these incentives is I want guys to feel like they are working for themselves. And really that's the culture here. Like, hey, I'll meet with the guys in the shop in the morning and I'm going to make suggestions of why don't we could tackle it this way. We can hide a screw here. We can do this, do that. I said, but at the end of the day, I'm going to walk out of here and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on you, right?
Yeah.
Keeping everybody accountable within that structure, I feel like it prevents a lot of the, a lot of the, well, I feel like I'm worth this. Well, let's look at our, positional evaluation. Let's see how you're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And so, and I know you also give some tools to your, or like there's certain incentives, actual physical stuff that you buy for them, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, we provide a lot of the specialty tooling, right?
Sure.
Track saws, domino machines. Yeah. But, from the apprentice level, we give them a yearly tool budget. From there we're supplying all the consumables,
Sure.
Beyond any level. What we've really tried to do, all of our guys are W-2 guys. So, we're trying to run a viable business. And, but I'm also the first guy there's nothing that holds me back from continuously investing in the company. So if a guy is really in need of something, we have 5 of everything, but if they really needed something, hey, we'll provide them with what they need. But at the end of the day, my thing is you got to got to own your craft and invest in your toolkit. I mean, hey, that's an apprentice level thing, right?
Yeah. So what do you want to say to all the other builders? I mean, you've taken your own internal system. Everybody else is. I mean, do you look around and like, where do you want us to be in 5 years, 10 years? What do you want? You want an apprenticeship program to come back nationwide? Do you want?
Yeah, I think we gotta pull it all back a little bit. I think let's build some solid businesses. Like I didn't hire Sean because we were failing.
Right.
Because I didn't know how to get a job. Like that was not it. The idea is I don't want to wait 35 years to build a business. I think there's a lot of things maybe in life in general, right? You should learn by mistake.
Right.
You should fail. I mean, I fail every single day.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, I'm okay with that. I have to accept it. I'm a business owner, right? I'm not a wizard. I have no crystal ball. But I guess what I would want to say is, let's pull it back. Let's start building businesses young guys can thrive in. Beyond the young guys, let's build businesses we as whether it's owners, craftsmen, employees, let's build businesses where we want to come to work. We are allowing people to succeed.
Right.
Because if people don't succeed, if all people see is what's been done for the last 35, 40 years, I don't know why anybody wants to keep, you got to work too hard in this industry. We got to build better businesses for these guys to come in. And if you're an employee, master becoming a great employee.
Yeah.
You can't be a great business owner if you're not a great employee. There's nothing I am doing now that I didn't do when I was working at the family company.
Right. Well, so where can people go to find out more about what you do and maybe even people in your area who want to come work for you? What's the website? How do you follow you on Instagram?
Absolutely. So I'm heavily involved in the Instagram community. You can follow us at ProBuilt Woodworking, our handle. You can also find us on Facebook at ProBuilt Woodworking. You can find me personally, Anthony Vitale, on LinkedIn.
Okay.
We have a blog that has fallen to the wayside, but it's a WordPress-based blog. I think it's ProBuilt Woodworking .wordpress, something like that. I'm trying to figure out what avenue we're going in there. We are in process of putting out some awesome content on YouTube. I'm super pumped about that. It's still very early, so trying to work through how we're gonna get involved there. And man, oh man, at the end of the day, if there's anybody who has questions, advice, like there's nothing I have figured out that is magic. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice. And somewhere along the way, I found an incredible wife who supports all that, because I don't know how else that happens. But reach out to me. I would love to talk and chat with anybody who might be in the same boat or.
Beautiful. And we're hoping to have Anthony in the magazine sometime soon with an article about bench-built window casing. So,
sweet.
So stay tuned for that. And so, Anthony, thank you for joining us. Everybody, make sure to go check out his stuff. We barely scratched the surface of some of the stuff that he can offer. We just can't fit that much into a conversation. But he's got great info on his website about his apprenticeship program and the levels of carpentry and what's involved in the culture, and his daily Instagram. And it's great stuff. If you have a chance to meet Anthony in person, you're going to get sucked into his enthusiasm and probably want to put on a tool belt by the end of it. So so thanks for coming on, Anthony. And thanks everybody else in the audience for listening. You can go to findhomebuilding.com/podcast to check this out. You can also send us notes at fhbpodcast@taunton.com. Okay, until next week, this is Justin for Rob, Brian, and Anthony saying keep craft alive and happy building.